So growing up, I was a really big fan of Boomerang. And for those of you who don't know what Boomerang was, it was a program made by Cartoon Network that came around in the 90s that replayed a lot of old Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network cartoons. Things like Scooby-Doo, Mr. Magoo, Pink Panther, and one of my personal favorites, Josie and the Pussycats. Now, Josie and the Pussycats was kind of just another one of those teen mystery shows. Think Scooby Doo, Speed Buggy, and stuff like that. But what was really cool about Josie and the Pussycats was it was actually created based on the spin-off of Archie Comics, Josie and the Pussycats, which starred a ragtag group of singers in a band, their manager and her sister, and Alan M., this cutie patootie who is Josie's love interest, traveling around and solving musical based mysteries. And little did anyone know that eventually these characters would come to be part of one of the most anti capitalist movies that calls out the predatory behaviors of the music industry and of consumerism in general that I think I've ever seen. Yep, we are talking about 2001's. Hey everyone, I'm another bad salad, but you can call me Holly. I'm here to do another throwback review where I go through movies, cartoons, and stuff that I watched as a kid that I don't think people talk about that much anymore. Now, if you don't know who I am, hi. I talk about cartoons on the internet, mainly over on TikTok, Bob's Burgers, and Cartoon Family sitcoms, and I'm going to start doing that here eventually, but I wanted to dip my toes into the YouTube space by doing these kind of fun reviews where I talk about an old movie I liked or something that I used to watch in kind of this fun VHS format. The world is scary, so I wanted something that felt like sitting back as a kid and watching a Saturday morning cartoon or a VHS tape of your favorite movies. So that's why we're here. And today we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorites, 2001's Josie and the Pussycats, which as a kid, I just thought was like a fun musical movie that was really campy with a lot of fun fashion in it. But when I watched it as an adult and even as a teenager, when I rewatched it, I noticed that this movie has a real big message when it comes to anti capitalism and also the way that the music industry predatorizes young artists. And I think it's really interesting and fun to look back on. Now, before we get into it, a little bit of background about this movie. 2001, it was created with a 22 million budget. Unfortunately, only got back about 14.5 million of its initial budget, which made it a flop. Now, that being said, this 95-minute cult classic honestly is a banger and it holds up really well. I've watched this movie 4 times to do this video in the span of a week, and every single time it's funny. I'm gonna get into all the actors and their different roles later on when we get into their characters, but I do want to point out that the cast for this movie is pretty solid. It has Rachel Lee Cook, Rosario Dawson, Tara Reid, Alan Cumming, and Posey Parker. All honestly classic names in cult films and B movies, and I think that's honestly one of the best places to be. As a really big B movie fan, there are no better fans than fans of B movies. And something that was also really cool is Kay Hanley of Letters to Cleo fame, one of my favorite girl bands from the 90s, actually got to do the singing voice of Rachel Lee Cook's Josie, and the album that came with this movie and all the music you guys are gonna hear small snippets of so I don't get in trouble, but can go and listen to on Spotify are all done by her. And so if let's say you like this album or have always wondered if there was more music like this, yeah, go listen to Letters to Cleo. The last thing I want to mention before we get into this movie is the amount of advertisement that is in this film and how it has such a strong capitalist message is crazy because we have companies like Sega, Motorola, Revlon, AOL, Pizza Hut, Target, Advil, Starbucks, McDonald's, etc., etc., etc. Steve Madden even pops up a lot in this, all a part of this film, which is a very big anti-capitalist message. And the way that they got around that is none of these brands paid for advertisement for this film. The director just did it. And the directors, Harry Elfant and Deborah Kaplan, actually did other movies together that were kind of in the same vein, like A Very Brady Sequel and Viva Rock Vegas, which is, I think, a very underrated, underrated movie. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I've been blabbing enough about pre-movie stuff. Let's actually get into the movie before you guys get tired of me. So we don't open up with Josie and fam. Instead, we open up to a bunch of people screaming for a band du jour, which is kind of your classic 2000s, late 90s boy band. Think Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, etc. And the people in this band, I want you to look at the actors they got to play du jour because it is so funny. Breckenmeyer, Seth Green, Donald Faison, and Alexander Martin all playing the members of du jour, and it's just so funny. Their outfits are also very classic 2000s, and they perform their song Backdoor Lover, which is about exactly what you think it is. And we are obviously given glimpses of all of this really 2000 style fandom of people just flipping out for this boy band. And then they get on their private jet and fly away. Almost instantly, when they get on the jet, they start kind of bickering with each other and arguing, and we are introduced to their manager, played by Alan Cumming, Wyatt. Alan Cumming is always a pleasure. I love him in everything, and he makes everything better. And he seems to be able to get everybody kind of back to normal. And then another fight starts over a face. Also, something to note is all the members of du jour are still wearing their stage mics. And I think that that's amazing. I think it is so funny. There is a lot of visual comedy in this movie, and that's why I recommend to go and watch it. Don't just rely on me because I can't go through every single joke in this movie. Honestly, it would then just be the whole video. It is just continuously funny. There really isn't a couple of minutes that go by without a funny joke or some type of like situational or scenery gag. The fight starts to get worse between the members of du jour, though, but it isn't Wyatt who breaks it up. Instead, it's Les who says, Du jour means family! And they all remember that du jour means family. And while Wyatt walks away because he thinks everything's fine, Les points out that they, while making a remix of their new single, noticed something in the background. And they show Wyatt. We don't get to see it, but they show Wyatt. And he says he has no idea what that is. But then he goes and tells the pilot,
Take the Chevy to the levee.
which is just funny. Wyatt randomly says like lines from songs as code for stuff, and it's just funny. I'm not going to point them all out, but it is funny. And him and the pilot jump out of the plane while du jour starts to fight again, and then it just starts crashing. Du jour means seatbelts. And where does Wyatt parachute down other than Riverdale, where they were about to have a bunch of concerts? But yeah, he lands down in Riverdale. And this is the first time I'm mentioning, but yeah, the first, I would say, like quarter of this movie takes place in Riverdale. But now we are introduced to our titular cast of Josie and the Pussycats. Here, though, just called the Pussycats, with Rachel Lee Cook as Josie, Rosario Dawson as Valerie, and Melanie played by Tara Reid. And we get a moment to describe like all of them, how Josie is like the songwriter and music focused one. Val is the one who does a lot of humanitarian stuff and is very like active. And then you have Melanie, who is just a sweetie, vegetarian, loves animals, kind of ditzy, but she's great. Honestly, Tara Reid is continuously funny throughout this movie. Also, something to note, while they were looking for different people to play Val in this film, they ended up going with Rosario Dawson, which is great. I think she's amazing in this film and I would not change it. But there was two other people that they were looking at to play this character. Do you want to know who they were? Lisa Left Eye Lopez, who they said they didn't get because she gave off too much of a serious vibe, and then Beyonce. Beyonce. We almost got a Josie and the Pussycats movie with Beyonce. I think that's wild. There's a universe out there where there is Josie and the Pussycats with Lisa Left Eye Lopez and Josie and the Pussycats with Beyonce. I just think that's fun. Through this musical opening that plays out like a fun music video, we also are introduced to Alexander and Alexandra. They are a brother and sister who are the manager and the sister of the manager, respectively. If you've ever watched the cartoon, you know that Alexandra is just an antagonist the entire time. And that's what she is in this movie for, by the way. And of course, we meet Alan M., who is also a cutie patootie. Honestly, everyone in this movie is my type, and it's upsetting. I would just like to say that like 90% of the people in this movie are people I would date. And I think that says a lot about me. So after we are introduced to everyone through our fun opening, we zoom out to see that they are at a bowling alley, and It's just a gig that they're only paid $20 for. But then they have to pay $5 shoe rental each, so $5. And then while they're outside putting their instruments away, some girls come up to antagonize them. No one in particular, just three girls. But the main girl tells Josie that she hopes she likes the gutter because she'll be playing there forever. And this seems to get to Josie, and she walks away to have a sad, introspective music girl moment. But then Val comes up to help her out and remind her that she's a rock star. There is energy between these two. This movie really wants me to care about Josie and Alan, but I'm going to be fully honest. I am not as invested with them as much as I am invested in the chemistry between Rachel Lee Cook and Rosario Dawson. It is, I don't know what it is. I know that they're supposed to be playing like best friends, like almost sisters, but that is not what this comes off like. This this isn't even the only moment in this movie. So I want you to just remember this because we will get into this again. We then cut to their little house, which is at the back of a suburb, and it is spray painted like fun little cheetah spots. It's actually also spray painted like their van, which I think is really cool. We don't really get to see the Josie and the Pussycats van throughout this, but it's nice that it's in this. They really didn't have to do that, especially because it's only really in the opening scenes and then in the background of a few scenes. While Josie is hanging out in her room, messing with her look, we have, one of those early 2000s montage moments. Alan M comes in and asks Josie to help him with his car. And then we basically get the scene from Barbie, except instead of forcing Barbie to listen to Ken play the guitar, she's actively fixing his car. I don't like how that rhymed. And he goes to ask her though, "Hey, have you ever wanted to tell someone something? You just couldn't. You just didn't know how to, and you didn't know how they were gonna react." She says, "Yeah, you should just tell them. You should just tell them because there's obviously tension between these two. It's a will they, won't they." I almost said meet cute, but that's not how a meet cute works. And there's the tension, and then he says, "Because I really just want to tell this dude at work he stinks." Damn, dude. Like you're messing up. Womp. Fail. Also, something to note, Josie says you don't deserve this truck because it's such a good car, but then mentions that it can't go uphill when it's hot out. What do you mean he doesn't deserve that? Do you want him to die? My car's missing its front and it can still go uphill. But we then cut to all the girls hanging out together, eating a pack of ramen because
I don't think people know how far one pack can go.
also Mal eating ramen with her drumsticks is iconic. Everything Tara Reid does in this movie is funny. Her comedic timing is just really good. I like cannot get over it. Oh, and of course then she became like one of those people who the early 2000s just wanted to vilify because she was a dumb blonde. Meanwhile, we are then introduced to Alex and Alexandra, the band manager, and his sister, who are, oh my god, Alexander is so funny. It turns out he wasn't at their gig, and the reason he wasn't at their gig was because he was getting du jour tickets. Because they don't know yet. He's gonna find out he wasted his money. Do you think they'll refund that? We'll get into that in a second. This moment is short-lived because they leave, and then Mel tells the girls to come into the living room, and they find out that du jour is missing because their plane crashed 40 miles outside of Riverdale, and no one knows where they are. Sad. Mel says they should raise money for a search party and hold a bake sale. We love a helpful queen. And then Val and Josie have this like moment of sadness where they're like, damn, they were so young. And then, hey, ladies. Hey, to quote Haley Whipjack, ladies? Okay. And then Josie gives a little pep talk about how they can't just sit around and wait for a record deal to come, that they need to do this, that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And when the tough gets tougher, and Mel says the tough make lemonade. And I love this. I think this is great. Mel comes out with wisdom all the time. Mallory, the star of this movie. So they decide they're going to go play music. But before that, we cut to the Riverdale outside mall where Wyatt is walking around and goes to a music store. And we get a small glimpse of a group of girls talking about how pink is the new red. And they are so just hyped about everything, just kind of your stereotypic 2000s little like bubble girls. Wyatt then goes to the DJ of the record store and gives him a copy of the new Du Jour song that was recorded right before they unfortunately went missing. And everyone starts listening to it. And then we see that group of girls who is really into pink say that they're done with pink and that orange is the new pink. And we're starting to get the vibe that maybe Wyatt, the guy who crashed a plane, might be the villain. But is he? Yes, he's the villain. He's just not the only villain. A fun goth girl walks up in a Susie and the Banshees shirt I would really like and says that she thinks the music sucks and that she plugs her ears every time stuff like this plays and it doesn't seem to be affecting her. So he says he would love to pick her brain and talk to her about it. And then she gets kidnapped. Ma'am, you have no survival instincts. I would not go with this man, especially into the back room of somewhere. Sorry, I'm not saying you deserve to get kidnapped, but I am saying I feel like there was steps that led to this point where you could have just turned around. Wyatt then gets a call from a woman named Fiona, who is played by Posey Parker. You could always tell Posey Parker by her amazing voice. Even when she does voices, it sounds like Posey Parker. And says that he better find her a new act. Since DeJour is missing, they need a new band to influence people. Crazy. And then we cut to Josie and the girls all outside of a Steve Madden about to play some music, acoustic. And then the guy comes out, the manager, whatever you want to call him, this weirdo. I don't like your turtlenecks, sir. To harass them and tell them that they can't play their music out there. He has things to sell. They're new. They're orange. And he threatens to call the cops. And he does. And then the girls run away. And while they're running away, Wyatt is driving down the street, complaining about Fiona not doing anything and him having to do everything. And then he almost hits the girls. And then just in time, though, a sign for #1 band in the world crosses them. And you actually notice it early on being taken down from a DeJour poster, which I think is really neat. And he sees and pictures them at the cover of an album and is like, hey, I got my next victim. We then cut to them in a Starbucks. So much advertisement. Before, when they were at the mall, there was a lot of advertisement. I wanted to give it a second, but look at this. You're going to see this a lot. I feel like I don't need to talk about it because you're going to be seeing it in the backgrounds and the photos, but I will bring it up sometimes. But I just want you to just pay attention to all the capitalism and all the buy this, and that they're kind of hitting you over the head with a little bit with it, but it gets more fun, I promise. Wyatt takes the girls to the Starbucks though and tells them that he wants to sign them to Mega Records. And they're like, dude, you didn't listen to us sing yet or anything. And then Alex shows up out of nowhere to say, hey, don't sign anything. Don't sign anything. And he says, no, you're going to get 15%. So Alex is down. And then he offers to sign them a contract. And they do have a second where they're like, we don't know. This seems really fast. And he kind of negs them a little bit. And then they go to the bathroom to discuss, do they really want to do this? Is this the path they want to take? Everything seems so fast. Doesn't he seem weird? And then Mel has this moment of introspection.
Like how he ordered a triple cappuccino and scooped up all the foam. Why not just get an espresso? Plus how he kept folding his napkin like he's afraid he doesn't have any real friends. Just people who want to use him because he's just a big music guy.
Honestly, Tara Reid just eating this role up. But they decide, hey, you know what? We are, in fact, just going to sign. We're going to do this. We need to do this. And they do. And Alexandra makes a comment that, oh, it's such a shame. You're going to have to leave Alan M here with me. So Josie convinces them that Alan M is their guitar tuner. And so he gets to come. Of course he does. And Alexandra comes along because she was in the comic book. You think I'm joking? They say so in this movie. It's kind of great. There's a lot of meta moments in this movie where they mention that it's based on a comic book, that it's based on a cartoon, and it is always really funny, honestly. The girls all hanging out on this plane, and then this. Again. I cannot get over the chemistry. Alan M is in the room. And I believe that these two are more of a couple. Anyway, they decide that they're not going to let fame change them and swear on their little bus passes that they all got that all have all of them in it, which I think is really cute. I don't think any city would ever allow this to happen, but it's cute. And they swear on their bus pass the fame won't change them and they'll always stay the same. How cute. You know this is foreshadowing. And then we get a makeover! And you know what? I feel like I need to join them because this is a little drab and I want to get into a little bit more Y2K fabulousness. So... Makeover. makeover, right? I think it's cute. I, as someone who grew up in the 2000s, can promise you Y2K makeup. Very frosty, very fun. And I think this is the perfect time for me to now talk about the costuming, the makeup, and everything in this movie that has to do with its visuals because it is such a time capsule of the year 2000. The outfits in the early part of this were definitely very much casual 2000s outfits. You had t-shirts and jeans and the really low rise pants that are on Tara Reid throughout this movie are a character within themselves. But it's after this makeover where we actually see that like hyper idea of a lot of Y2K fashion where it's shiny, glittery, really frosty makeup, really plucked, tweezed, thin eyebrows, frosted hair, and everything is great. Honestly, all the costumes are good except for Val's. You will see as I show you guys clips throughout this video from this point on that they do Val so dirty in the costume department. And I honestly think it's because Rosaria Dawson is slightly thicker and like stuff in this time definitely didn't come in sizes other than a 3 or a 0. Seriously, everything that they put Rosario Dawson in is just subpar compared to everything else all the other girls and even all the side characters get to wear. It's kind of sad. It really feels like they gave her the short end of the stick. After our little makeover moment, though, we step outside and the girls see a sign that says Josie and the Pussycats. Now, mind you, at this time, the band is called the Pussycats. Val gets upset because she's like, hey, why did they got her name wrong? We're just the Pussycats. And he's like, bands sell better when they have the word and in them. And even though Val tries to say no, he does the whole reverse psychology thing. That's kind of why it's whole thing throughout this entire movie. Reverse psychology to women. And then they all go to get into the limo to go record, and they forget Val for a second. And now he's setting the seeds, as you can see, with Val and her feelings and her security within the band. Ooh. We get a moment where Wyatt is talking on the phone while getting a suit tailored, and he is talking to Fiona, the big bad, and how is where she's introduced. After we get this,
Just think Christina Aguilera times 3, except, of course, one of them's incredibly tan. Or else TLC with 2 white chicks. Or, Hole.
now, weird comments aside, I think the TLC bit would have been even funnier if Lisa Left Eye was in this movie, and I think that that might be a joke either left in because of that or a remnant of when they were going to get her to play Val. Anyway, we now officially get introduced to our big bad Fiona, played by Posey Parker, and she is everything. Her outfits throughout this movie, everything. Her attitude, her acting, how exaggerated she is about everything. It is so good. She is eating. There is scenery in here, and she is not just chewing it, she is chomping it. Chomp, chomp. And now we see that Mega Records, the record company that Wyatt works for and that's doing all of this, has been putting subliminal messaging in all of their music to sell products. Obviously, duh. But we learn that the way that they do this is by putting in the back of the music Mr. Movie Phone. And if you don't know what Mr. Movie Phone is, he was someone you would call for a movie to like set it up to go and see a movie. It's very of its time. But Fiona is explaining to all these world leaders about this mind control technology and shows them a informative video, and it is that Dan Levy? No, yeah, that's Dan Levy. I like Dan Levy. And he explains that they are putting messages in the back of music mainly to go after today's youth because they have so much expendable income that they got to spend it somewhere. Capitalism, right? And we learn that Mega Records is just an entire music industry that is made to sell products. Dun dun dun. That is our big bad, our big thing of this movie, that Fiona is trying to influence the world to spend money. For now, that's what we think it is. And someone also asks, what happens if people get wise? And they say, well, have you ever wondered why so many musicians die tragically? That's us. We've been doing it this whole time. When they get wise, we can do anything to make their lives just crumble. And it turns out that they are the creators of Behind the Music, which was like a show that was about the downfall of musicians. This movie is so meta. This is really calling out the music industry's like predatory behavior when it comes to selling stuff and tragedy. And we see that especially as someone who like lived through the 2000s and the way that it treated especially women in music in the 2000s. This is just such a wild fucking thing. So, back with the Pussycats, well, now Josie and the Pussycats, they go to the recording studio with Wyatt to record a song, and they have a big fancy machine there. Ooh, I wonder what that does. And he says it just makes them sound better. And so they sing a little bit of the song they did in the opening, which is such a banger. All of the music in this is such a banger. Definitely go listen to this album when you are done watching this video. And then he plays it back for them, and something weird happens. Mallory says, I want a Big Mac. Mind you, she's a vegetarian. And then the other girls start saying that they want to spend money. They want to do all this stuff. And they start talking like the girls from earlier. Ooh, we know that we know what's happening now. There's no like scary thing. You know, the mystery of that isn't exactly the mystery of this movie. I would like to mind you that this is a mystery. We'll find out that there is like a bigger plan in place, but it's not this. It's not just to sell stuff. But all the girls are like, yeah, you know what, let's do this. And we then get a music video to their song, Pretend to Be Nice. And we kind of get an update of their like fame, and everyone's noticing them. People are dressing like them and looking like them. And it's all cool and fun. And ooh, 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 ooh. Now, we are in the girls', I think they are meant to be their new apartments, but they definitely look like themed hotel rooms for Target, McDonald's, and Revlon, respectively. Really funny. Girls are all hanging out and excited, and Josie mentions, isn't it weird that all this happened in a week? And it is. It is weird. You should be suspicious. Editing Holly here. I forgot to mention that the girls who insulted them outside of the bowling alley actually show up at their like hotel room apartment thing and are like, we're your number one fan. We're your number one fans. But Wyatt comes in and says, don't worry about that. There's going to be a party. We have a party to go to. It's all for you, Josie. And the invitations have Josie on them, none of the other girls. And Val doesn't even get an invitation. And Wyatt is just like, that's fine, you can come with us. You can be a plus one. Just a member of the band. We then learn Fiona's big master plan because we cut back to the facility where it seems that they're having a second meeting where they talk about how their big plan is to have Josie do a big stadium concert that Wyatt tells them that they're going to be doing. And at this concert, everyone's going to be wearing headphones that have little ears on them. And in that is going to be a big subliminal message. And everyone will buy things. Ooh. But we see Mallory taking a shower and someone in the background goes by. And I forgot to mention this earlier, and I can't believe I forgot. But when they were all getting into the limo after their makeovers and drove away, a mysterious figure was watching them. Ooh. And this mysterious figure is back. And when Mallory gets out of the shower, there's a message written on the mirror, and it says, beware of the music. But she doesn't really take it seriously. She just puts a smiley face in the O. Later, at Josie's apartment, when she's getting ready and looking great, Alan M shows up. Remember Alan M? He was in this movie too, remember? He was here. He's supposed to be the love interest, even though all the chemistry is between these two. He's like, I'm so sorry, I have to go to a party. But he doesn't care. He's gobsmacked by how beautiful she looks. She does look great. She's like, hey, can you help me? This like chain is behind my back. And they have this beautiful tense moment. She has a fun glitter tattoo. Remember glitter tattoos? Do y'all remember glitter tattoos? They would only look good for a day. And then after, they would very, very quickly turn gray and weird, and they would peel off, and it was never appealing. Glitter tattoos were cute for one night and one night only, and then after that you were wearing a t-shirt to cover it up until it came off, or you were scrubbing that with apricot scrub. God, the 2000s were crazy. Wyatt though then shows up to break up the tension and say, we gotta go to this party. And they do. Everyone is looking at them. They all look great. And we get a little bit of all of their inner monologue. Josie worried that none of them belong there. Val thinking that she doesn't belong there.
If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
God, I love her. And then Fiona comes out to a really fun jazz rendition of Pretend to Be Nice. Like, it's so fun. Posey Parker just looks great. Her outfits in this with the polka dots. Oh, God. She looks amazing. She tells Josie, welcome to her party, and then brings them into her bedroom, which is very 2000s, like, teenage girl bedroom. This is not the bedroom of an adult woman. This is the bedroom of a I'm just gonna leave. Okay, so yes, elephant in the room. I also have a bedroom that is full of knickknacks and Hello Kitty and stuffed animals and uh actually a lot of Care Bears, specifically Share Bears. So you know what? I can't bash her for this room. But there's very obviously something up because she's acting more like this is a fun sleepover with the girls. It is very awkward doing things like comparing weight and we do get this, which is always fucking funny to me.
Oh, I am starved. I'm such a pig.
And then she's giving Josie a back rub. I remember that this tension between Josie and the women in this is crazy. But while she's doing this, Miss Fiona slips up and talks with a lisp and says that Josie's so pretty and popular. And they say, what? And she goes, I'm just saying the new song is popular. And they go, what song? Which, I'm so sorry. It's so this is just so funny. But Fiona excuses herself and fixes it and says, hey, who wants to French braid? And we get out of there because I would too. So outside of the party, the girls talk about how isn't that weird? Doesn't like Fiona like kind of weird? And Mallory goes, yeah, I feel like I got this cold chill at my spine. She's sitting on a big cold O. And then she gets up and goes, no, I still got the shivers, you guys. It's not the O. Tara Reid, you are a fucking treasure. But, dun dun dun, Fiona has cameras and she sees this whole conversation and decides, you know what? The other Pussycats have to go. And her and Wyatt do an evil laugh. Also, something to notice though, Fiona seems genuinely upset by this. Like she's crying, like she got her was stabbed in the back. She really didn't like this. What could be going on? I promise you will find this out. It's so fun. The ending of this movie is fucking nuts. We then cut to a date between Josie and Alan, and they're at an aquarium, and he talks about how he has a gig and all this fun junk. And then a bunch of people notice Josie because she's the biggest rock star in the world right now, and they get chased. And then they go into a cute little room and they have more tension where they don't admit their feelings. It's so cute. And then this very, very, very cute whale in the background just popping up. Hey, hey, girl. How you doing, girl? You having a good time? She's the real star of this. An icon, a legend. Main character of Josie and the Pussycats. This bitch. They're then interrupted though when a scuba diver comes in and that's their date. Back at Josie's apartment, hotel room, apartment. The girls are all hanging out, and Val is starting to notice that Josie is the one getting all the attention. She's the one on everything, and it's getting to her. And just in time, though, almost as if by clockwork, Wyatt comes in and says, hey, you guys have an interview on TRL, but not Josie. Just you two, just Val and Mel, because we want to hear about you guys. You guys get a moment. Do y'all remember TRL with Carson? Do y'all remember TRL? I remember TRL. Val asks Josie, is it okay? Are you cool with this? And she's like, yeah, guys, go. They're all still friends. Everything is really cool. She's like, girl, go. I want you guys to succeed. We're in this together. They are still a group. And we get this cute little ladies, ladies, ladies. Just be together. Just be together. They are more interesting to me than her and Alan M. Wyatt comes in and gives her a CD and says, I need you to listen to this remix and go over it and give me any notes. Tell me what you think. You got to work on this. And she's like, but I have to go to Alan's thing. And Wyatt has this whole back and forth where he keeps getting fake calls to say that the gig was canceled and then just yells at her.
Frankly, your level of non-commitment is making me doubt your commitment. So you want to be a rock superstar, eh? Live large, big house, 5 cars.
And so she does, and she listens. And then we see what Val and Mal have been up to, and it turns out that they go to a fake set, and Carson Kressley does show up, and fake Carson as well, because they're going to kill them. And then they tried to kill them with bats. That's crazy. That is brutal. That's nuts. That's bananas coconut. We get a whole fight scene between Mel and Carson where they have this cute little, almost like a meet cute, and then she hits him with a Matt Damon. I love that. As someone from Massachusetts, go Matt Damon. And Val beats up the fake Carson who does a Bill Cosby impression. That's just one of those things that doesn't age well in this movie. Well, she doesn't really beat him up so much as she moves out of the way for him to run in and hit the fake wall and collapse. But they get out and they go to tell Josie what's going on. But guess what? The music turned Josie evil. This is evil Josie. She tells Val and Mal off and doesn't believe them and tells Val that who is she? No one knows who she is. No one comes to see her. Like, she's a nobody. She goes, who's a rock star? Who's a rock star? I am. This is cursed Yuri. This is sad Yuri. I promise you that these two end up together in like 10 years. But honestly, one of the funniest things about this is how she gets Mal to be mad at her is she tells her that puppies grow up into dogs and get old and die. As if Mal did not know that, and she runs away crying. It is actually, I will say, really sad. When I was a kid, this scene would upset me so much that sometimes I would skip it when I was watching it because it was like, oh no, the girls are fighting. And then we get this sad moment where Val is crying and packing stuff up, and then we cut to Val in a puppy store, sadly looking at puppies while we get this like that comment about that puppies get old and die really got to her. I can't tell you though, like, yeah, I know this must be sad, and I remember like genuinely being sad like the other like, I was genuinely really sad when I was rewatching this, and then it was just the cut of the puppies, and I audibly started laughing. Josie then goes on an evil walk, where she's just walking around town with her head held high, feeling so self-important, and then eventually she trips and falls, and the music gets out of her ears.
It's actually seeing the bus pass fall out of her bag that sets her back.
And she goes to look for Val. And in Val's room are Alex and Alexandra. Where have they been this whole time? Alexandra just hanging out on the bed eating, just antagonizing Josie. And Alex is just zonked out on Red Bull and just saying, hey, they're all gone. Like a flock of seagulls. Gone. And she's like, there's something going on. We have to go. And they go to the recording studio to try to find out what's wrong. Because Josie has admitted that things have been crazy and she's been self-absorbed. Even though not really. Honestly, everything was fine up until this exact night. Mind you, all of this has happened within a week. So, girl, Josie, you're really not that in the wrong. You were brainwashed. It'll be okay, girl. You'll figure it out. You'll solve the mystery. So they go to the recording studio, and Josie puts in the CD that she got, and she keeps moving dials around to try to figure out what's up. And she does find something in the background. And it's Mr. Movie Phone telling her all the things that she told to Val and Mal. It's crazy. And then we get, in my opinion, the funniest line of this movie.
Call it Josie and run it right after Will and Grace.
Oh my God, that's Mr. Movie Phone. How did you get him to put that on there? Oh, you slept with him.
Josie instantly figures out that it has to be the big machine that Wyatt made such a big deal about earlier on in the film. And then she tries to push it out. Honestly, this movie is just funny. This movie is just continuously funny. But Fiona shows up looking great. Just always in a good outfit, Fiona is. Also, we get this line from Josie where she says that she's a trend pimp, and I don't know why it's so funny to me. So, Josie's been caught. All the girls have been caught, and Fiona is going to make her go out on stage and sing and brainwash everybody. Otherwise, she is going to put Mal and Val in a car and have it crash and have a whole sad story about their death after she kills them. Val and Mal then get put in a Ford. I don't know. I know all the advertisement wasn't paid for, but do you think Ford knew that this is what they were? Do you think any of the brands really knew? How do you think they felt after all of this? And Val is still mad at Josie and thinks that she was serious about everything she said. And Josie gives, and Mal goes, "See, Val, I told you, Josie still loves us." She says, "Of course I do. You guys are my best friends." And actually gives this really sweet speech of where she says if she could go back in time and never say those things, she would. And that if Mal could go back in time, she would meet Snoopy. And then Josie apologizes that she ever made Mal think that the world wasn't a beautiful, perfect place the way that she sees it. And it's actually really sweet that we get this speech between her and Val, which is about how she couldn't do anything without her. She got her first guitar, and that she calls her sister, but I still. No, I think you two need to run away together with Mal. But I want you two to know like you guys need to be together. Like you guys have the best fucking chemistry in this movie. And then when they're all saying "I love you," Fiona just shows up and throws Josie aside and says, "Let's get on with this. I'm tired of this." God. She's one of the best fucking villains in anything. And while Josie is about to go up through the stadium floor so she can sing, Josie says, "Hey, Fiona, if I go up there, I'm just going to tell everyone." She goes, "Who's going to believe you? Who's going to believe your ramblings?" And then guess who shows up to show her? They lived. They actually safely landed. They just unfortunately landed in the parking lot of a Metallica concert. And the only reason that Les is undamaged is because he knew all the words to Enter Sandman. That is so fucking funny. But of course, they really can't fight them. They're just a bunch of broken men. That was a very real sentence I just said. But in that meantime, Josie got to untie the girls. Fiona shows up and is just like, "Oh, wow, you nearly got me." And just asks her, like, "Why are you doing this? You could be popular. Everyone could love you. And this is what you squander it on with Mopey and Dopey." And that makes Josie mad. And then we get one of the funniest cat fights. And then Val and Mel get out of the car. And Val fights Wyatt. Mal just starts beating people up because apparently she knows Kung Fu, which means she could have used it on Carson. The only reason she just wasn't fighting against Carson was because she wanted to like flirt, or maybe she would. I don't know, but just Mal's a badass. God, I love you, Tara Reid. Josie and Fiona get into just the funniest cat fight, and it leads up to Fiona grabbing a guitar and going to hit Josie, and her just being like, "What are you gonna do? Hit me with a guitar? You need me." And she just goes, "I don't need you. I can find 1,000,000 of you." And then swings at her, but accidentally hits the big brainwashing music mixing machine. And then everybody gets to hear what the message was going to be in the back of the headphones. And it was all how amazing Fiona is. Mr. Movie Phone get interrupted by Fiona with her lisp, saying all these things about how you're going to want to be friends with her if you're a girl, and if you're a boy, you want to date her, and how pretty and popular. And everyone starts laughing, and Fiona starts lisping. And she says, "Okay, laugh at the loser girl who didn't have any friends." And it turns out that she was picked on for having a lisp in school, and she was unpopular. And then Wyatt notices her and goes, Lisa Snyder? Lisping Lethal? She goes, that was my nickname in high school. And he goes, it's me, Wally. White ass Wally. And it turns out they went to high school together, and he was an albino kid who was picked on, who now wears makeup, fakes his accent, and a wig to pretend to be someone else. And they just never noticed each other. And both of them open up and have just a moment where they realize that they were in front of each other this whole time, and they should be together. That was the evil plot. I want I like let's all be 100% for real here. The entire plot of this movie was this woman was brainwashing people and trying to make a rock or pop group that was so big it could fill a stadium and get everybody across the world to listen through these headphones so she could be popular. That is such a Saturday morning cartoon thing. I cannot get over. I think that is so fucking funny. That is so funny. I need you to understand how hilarious that is. The government then shows up and we get this.
Oh, please. Unlike you bunch of whack jobs, I'm perfect just as I am.
Holy shit, that girl's got a skunk on her head. Oh, geez, that's just your hair. Sorry, but that's messed up.
Poor Alexandra. So America takes the two away and pretend that they didn't know about the entire thing because they were there. They were absolutely going to buy this. They were absolutely going to buy this technology. Who are they kidding? And the Pussycats, or Josie and the Pussycats now, I guess, decide they're going to go up and perform anyway. Josie gives a little speech telling them, hey, take off the headphones. If you guys don't like this, that's cool. But if you do, awesome. And she plays her new song for them, which I actually think is really fun because it opens up with this like very soft na 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 melody that we've actually been hearing randomly throughout the movie. We hear this motif throughout the entire movie, so it's really cool that it opens the final song. And they sing Spin Around, which is also a banger. I used to sing this song while playing a fake guitar as a child, and it's still a bop. I listen to this song, I listen to this album constantly. It's just so good. And Alan M is there, and he's like, hey, Josie, even though you missed my show, which I didn't talk about because it was so forgettable, the moment where Alan M did have his show. It obviously wasn't canceled, and like Josie didn't show up. But I felt like that was like self-explanatory, that it was like really obvious that Wyatt was lying. I'm sorry, I'm bad at my job. It's like, hey girl, I want you to know, even though you don't feel the same way about me, I want to tell you something. And she's like, what do you mean? Wait, go back to that. Go back to that. And he's like, Josie, I love you. And she's like, I love you. And he crowd surfs to the stage, and Val approves. Girl, no, you don't. Get your girlfriend. Get your girlfriend. Everything seems hunky-dory, and we get a fun ending montage. So that was 2001, Josie and the Pussycats, and honestly, it holds up so well, especially in this day and age where anti-consumerism is like a huge conversation. The movie finds a way to criticize capitalism and the predatory natures of the music industry so well without making you think too hard or it shoving it down your throat. Even when it kind of seems like that in the beginning, it kind of softens up and then just becomes like a drama about a band. It's almost like a stereotype of a story, but it's so fun. It gives me, in a weird way, Spinal Tap vibes. I don't know how else to describe it. And it just adds to this movie that the music is so good, that the fashion is really good, that the acting is so fun. Everyone in this movie seems like they knew what they were doing. They weren't going into this trying to make an Oscar-winning film, but they definitely made something that I think was memorable and really fun and a really, really good time capsule of the 2000s that still seems to hold up to this day. This movie is such a product of its time and something that's so enjoyable to rewatch, and the music is fun. I listen to it constantly. I recommend going and listening to this album. You can even pick up a record version of this album, which I think is really fun. If you're interested in watching this movie after this video, definitely go back and watch it. And if you haven't rewatched Josie and the Pussycats in a while, go back and rewatch it. It's definitely worth it. Thanks, guys, for joining me for Throwback Reviews. This has been really fun. I loved looking back on Josie and the Pussycats. If you guys liked this, why don't you hit subscribe and the little bell so you know when I post another video. I'm going to try to put up a video at least once a week, and I'm going to be posting a bigger long form video. That's a bigger project I've been working on, hopefully in the next week or so. And then through October, I'm going to be posting some spooky stuff. So that'll be really fun. So why don't you subscribe? Hit the little bell, and why don't you leave a comment and a like? They all help. You know the drill. Do you think anyone's ever asked Mr. Movie Phone to use his voice in bed? I think I would.